What's up everybody, KingGBL here, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be having a look at a very underrated pick in the Open Great League, which basically breaks the entire meta. Today we're going to be having a look at Registeel. We're hopping into this battle here, just 1 second in, the opponent is staying in with Dugong. Already the opponent is core broken by Registeel, they bring in a Sableye, we're going to zap cannon, and we're going to probably come into our own Sableye at some point. I think we look to take the energy in Reggie here first, and then we can look to come into our own Sableye. I run this Pokemon for 4 sets today. I had a 5-0 immediately. Unfortunately, in the last set, I went 1-4. I get RPS'd into Oblivion, like a Mudslap lead, with like Ebia Dark and just some random stuff in the back, right? Or like Mudslap lead with Wiggly in the back. Basically happens with every team. But overall, I think we went 13 out of 21. So pretty high win rate, considering that I probably could have won a battle or two, some very close losses in there as well. And of course, as you guys know, in Go Battle League, sometimes you just get completely RPS'd and there's nothing you can do about it. Doesn't matter if it's the best team in the world or the worst team that you can possibly think of. Sometimes you're going to win just on RPS and sometimes you lose. But I did think that Registeel was very strong and it threatens to one-shot a lot of things in the meta. You know, of course the opponent brought in the Dugong in the front. They've got an Azu here. Like, this is just completely core broken by Reggie. You see a lot of teams like this which are just basically Ebia weak. Even things like Drapion, they have to respect the moves. It's not a very good matchup for Reggie with shields up, but with shields down, Reggie can go to town. I've been showcasing Sableye a lot, so I won't say too much about it. You can probably run Shadow or non-Shadow, but I also thought Jellicent was quite decent, takes care of Mudslappers relatively okay. The one thing I did find kind of tricky with this team is like Marowak Safe Swap. That's a very tricky Pokemon to deal with because they can kind of 2-shield for your Jellicent. The pacing is just that much better. They hit pretty hard with the Bone Clubs, so that is something to look out for. So if you wanted to come up with a variation of this team, something that you might think is a little bit safer, you could definitely go for maybe like an Azu Reggie Sableye. It's a very strong and like old school core that a lot of people used to run. Instead of Sableye or Jellicent, you could put in Golisopod or a different water type. If you're finding that you're just a little bit soft to certain teams, you definitely could try to switch this up a little bit, but I definitely think Reggie is worth considering and we're going to have a look at it today. If you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and drop a like on it, it very much helps and I very much appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe if you've not yet done so. In this battle right here, I decided to throw the Dazzling Gleam. I wasn't sure if the Foul Play would knock out. I think it would have, to be honest with you. But they come back into Pidgeot. The opponent's just, again, core broken by Registeel. We can one-shot the Pidgeot, we can one-shot the Sandslash, we can one-shot the Golisopod with Zap Cannons or Focus Blasts. The opponent brings in their Sandslash, we bring in Jellicent at this point, knowing that Reggie is a very good matchup into Pidgeot. And because the opponent's in Powder Snow, this should be a winning matchup for Jellicent. As you can see, 2 of these don't quite knock us out. One Shadow-Ball will be looking to get them extremely low, and we should be in a very dominant position now. Basically, all I need to do is grab the opponent's Final Shield with Jellicent, get off a Surf on the Pidgeot, and then look to go for a Focus Blast or a Zap Cannon with the Registeel, and that's going to be good games here at this point. Now, in this matchup, I do think had the opponent been using Shadow Pidgeot, it might have been getting a little bit closer. Shadow Pidgeot does so much more damage, so I think Pidgeot's a very cool pick in this meta as well, but I definitely think Shadow is probably the way to go. Even if it's a less optimal IV Shadow, Shadow Pidgeot with an attack weight actually gets a lot of breakpoints, so that might be worth looking into. Even if you don't have an optimal Shadow, definitely look into it. Non-Shadow Sableye definitely has its benefits. It lives moves a lot more easily, and it's a little bit less sort of risky into certain Pokemon. Definitely things like your Marowaks, you'd feel a lot more comfortable with the non-Shadow. Anyway, Weezing lead, I'm pretty inclined to no-shield this move. It does about 70%, I want to say, the overheat. Doesn't quite knock us out, of course. They come into Talonflame. Once again, we're seeing 2 Pokemon here. In Weezing, which gets a lot of damage taken by the Zap Cannon, and of course the Talonflame, which will get very close to one-shot by Zap Cannon here. So Reggie just pulling shields for us very early. I recognize the opponent will most likely go for this move. I think we got the debuff here, so I decided to respect the Brave Bird. It would still do a lot. And the opponent for an Overheat, right? Unless they're in Brutal Swing, Overheat, which is a really silly moveset to be fair, which most people wouldn't be on, right? Jellicent basically walls the energy from Weezing, so that's actually a good matchup. What normally would be a pretty bad matchup for Jellicent actually would be a good matchup. The opponent full sends the Grass Knot here. I know I can live it. We come into Reggie here, draw back out the Weezing, and we're going to force the opponent to further energy here. Is the opponent going to be in Brutal Swing? If I said that and they're on Brutal Swing, that'd be kind of funny. I didn't think so, to be honest with you. And you also have a look at Sableye here, right? Sableye does not really fear this energy just as much as it used to, because we don't have to worry about spamming Brutal Swing, we can only really worry about Sludge here. Sludge plus Fairy Winds might be just about enough here, but it definitely is nice being able to no-shield one of these moves. The opponent goes for another Sludge. I'm going to go for double Foul Play here. The opponent makes a nice catch in Cordilli, and I knew the Cordilli was relatively dry, so I go for an Undercharge, charge it up to a Great, and right here we get the absolute perfect farm down. We just need to survive 2 Fairy Winds, which by the looks of things we're going to. 1 Foul Play from this range should be getting the KO. G-Weezy, pretty glassy. And of course, Shadow Sableye, being very attack weighted, we can put in a lot of damage here. These do about 30% or maybe a little bit more, so we're definitely happy to get these off, and that's good games well played. Hopping into the next battle, we get a very RPS bad lead for us. We get the Gastrodon. We come into Jellicent here instead of Sableye because this is a little bit bulkier and probably can deal with the Earth Powers and stuff like that a bit easier. I don't want to get Mud Slap down here. The opponent actually builds up to the Earth Power. At this point, because they're staying in, I'm going to respect it. They might be just very weak to Ghost in the back, so I'm pretty happy with that. This is one of the hardest answers the opponents will have to Reggie. So Reggie has probably a lot more play in the back. The opponent ends up letting the move go, and then they come into Alone and Sandslash. I make probably a bit of a misplay here by just going for this move right here. I just wanted to get the guaranteed chip on the opponent. I thought they might have shielded a Shadow Ball, so I wanted to go for a Surf, put them into a range where Reggie probably won't have to see this. Unfortunately, we do die to that move, and we're going to trust Reggie in the back at this point, I think. I'm going to take this. They should go for Drill Run for more damage. They do go for Ice Punch, and in comes Skeledirge. It looks like I've misplayed this battle quite a lot, unfortunately. We're getting super low. We don't live any more moves. So what I do there is do 1 and swap. It means I don't take the Incinerate damage. I'm going to come in. I know I can take a Torch Song. Most of these are not actually running Blast Burn, so I just take the Torch Song, which of course will boost the opponent up. And because I'm only 1 away, I can 1 and throw with Sableye and not take any Incinerate damage. So we do the 1. The opponent throws the move here. We're going to make sure the opponent does not swap out. I'm going to do 1 and throw here, even though I had the charge move ready, because again, I don't take the damage right, so I need to 1 and throw to make sure the opponent's still going to be there. We farm down the Sandslash, and despite a few misplays in that battle, we are able to take the win. In the next battle, we get another fantastic lead in Lapras. Lapras gets one-shot by this if it's Shadow. If it's non-Shadow, this is actually a very awkward matchup for Registeel. They don't quite die to one move here. By the way, Zap Cannon and Focus Blast in neutral situations do the same damage, right? So if you're against the Lapras, you probably want to try to get a debuff here, but generally speaking, these both do the same damage. They go for Sparkling, they come into Annihilate. I do take a lot of counter damage, but we can come in with Sableye now. Sableye once again has a very good matchup against the Lapras, basically just because we resist Psy Waves. We can look to take a Sparkling, not anymore, of course, with this damage they've done to us, and we'll see what the opponent wants to do here. They bring back in the Lapras, we won't one-shot them with Gleam, so I'm going to go for double foul play in this case here. They take the first one, I'm going to go for the second one right away, before the opponent threatens to get off a move, and the opponent ends up shielding it. Makes me think that they might be quite weak to it. We wall all of the energy, and we're going to come into the Jellicent versus Fortress. I go for Shadow Ball here. I should go for double Surf, because as you can see, one Shadow Ball will not be knocking them out, and doesn't really put them into a farm down range. I'm expecting a Rock Tomb here, which will not do too much damage to us. I can 1 and Surf. As I said, we should have probably just went for double Surf here. I go for an Undercharge, don't quite make it. I wanted the Lapras to get less energy here. We do still have a shield, but they get a massive farm down. Are we still fine here? The opponent's going to get off this move. Are they going to make a second move here? We're going to farm up. Unfortunately, the opponent makes 2 moves. I think I've completely thrown this battle. Or so I thought. Registeel's got a load of energy. We're going to come in, go for the Focus Blast. I was absolutely my pants. I didn't know how much energy I had, to be completely honest with you. I don't know if you guys get periods like this in Go Battle League, but for the last couple of days, I've not really been counting very well. Thankfully, I'm still doing pretty well. I'm up to around 2650 elo, but I've just not been counting and playing my best, so that was a little bit panicky there, unfortunately. Guzzy, they don't get one-shot by this move, so it puts them into lock-on down range. They end up shielding it, and of course they come into Wheezing, which is not really good into the Reggie either. They go for Brutal Swing immediately. I was kind of hoping the opponent would show me their moveset, and we can basically look to maybe get a shield. We need to try to preserve the Registeel. The opponent actually lets the move go, not trying to go down 2 shields, and we're kind of forced to bring in Jellicent at this point. Maybe I could have brought in Sableye here, because Sableye will look to threaten the heavy damage on the Guzzlord in the front. So this is looking really awkward now. The opponent's getting me into an awkward range. They've got a lot of damage on Registeel. These Shadow Balls are not going to be worth shielding for the opponent. They get a massive farm down. We are up a shield, but the opponent's got a ton of energy, so we're in a very, very awkward spot here. What I'm thinking at this point in the battle is, maybe I let this go and just try to put it on Sableye. Maybe come in, like bait the move or something like that. Try to grab the shield both of their moves here, and just try to kind of sweep with Sableye. That was kind of the thinking at this point, so I go for the nasty, dirty bait here. Thankfully, the opponent is not super strong to Sableye in the back, so they shield that move. Really interesting here. The opponent comes into Lapras. This is going to be still very, very tricky here. I can 2-shot them, so I decide, okay, what I need to do, they just got to the move here. Sparkling Aria is 12 and then 11. I'm going to build up to back-to-back full plays and catch the move from Registeel. Now, thankfully for me, the opponent might have tried to undercharge here, but I'm just too low to undercharge. I do 2 here, which means that I'm at a total of 12. 5 for this move, and 7 for the Gleam. The Guzzler comes in, goes for CMP tie, which they do not win, and Sableye takes the sweep here. So as you can see, the opponent's team was very, very weak to Registeel. However, it was just a little bit awkward on the swap, the GBZ swap. So maybe if you're swapping something out on this team, swap something out that's a little bit better into G-Weezy. Generally, G-Weezing and Dark Poisons were a little bit awkward for the team. So that's where maybe having like an Azu for some of these Pokemon, or having, say for example, Golisopod or something else might be a little bit better for you. Anyway, in this matchup right here, the opponent counter swaps the Jellicent with their Drippon. They got the Crunch debuff there. I'm not totally sure if Crunch debuff makes a difference there, because you would think maybe you can have an Aqua Tail without the Crunch debuff, because the stings add up a little bit more and the Aqua Tail will do a little bit more. It's really hard to say. Jellicent is quite bulky, but I was very low. It was around 20% health, so pretty hard to tell. But up energy, Jellicent can do very fine in the Zero Shield against Drippon. Basically forces them to throw all their energy. Basically in this matchup right here, I decided to set myself up for a Sableye sweep. The opponent comes into their Golisopod. They actually take the move. I'm going to shield this, of course, and look to farm it all the way down. And we're going to see if we can sweep here. This could still be a little bit tricky. The opponent's up a shield, so this match is nowhere near over. They come back into the Swampert here. So what I'm thinking is, I've got a Focus Blast banked. I need to get the opponent's shields here, and we should be basically fine. The clocks are slightly misaligned, so if I can look to get this move off here, we should be pretty much fine. I'm thinking here the opponent knows that I've got the move banked, so they might let this go, knowing they live a foul play. They shield, I come into Registeel, come in and do the Focus Blast. Now this is pretty unfortunate here. This doesn't one-shot them. They go for Hydro Cannon right here. And the opponent makes a very, very smart play here. They go for a slight undercharge here. They come in with Drippon, get the absolute perfect Poison Sting down. Before they left, they were in range to get Shadow Claw down, but because Registeel does 1 damage per lock-on, that's the real disadvantage with this Pokemon. Sometimes against low health Pokemon, you just can't quite take them out, and it's pretty frustrating. So you're seeing this matchup right here, and you're thinking, why not go Jelly? Well, the match right before this one, the opponent done the exact same thing, came into Marowak. However, they were able to flip swap my Jelly up energy with the Marowak, so keep that in mind. If the opponent comes into Marowak, it's probably worth taking a Bone Club with your, like if they've got a Wiggly, right? Like either shield the Bone Club, or take it, get off a Focus Blast and get into Jelly. That way you can guarantee to keep your Registeel on the Wiggly and not have your Sableye see it. The opponent aggro pivot side here, we go for a Surf immediately. We need 2 moves to knock this out no matter what, whether it be 1 Surf, 1 Zap Cannon. Maybe even from here, Zap Cannon won't quite knock out and give us a farm down. But as you can see, Charm and Wigglytuff, it's just kind of a stupid Pokemon. They're getting through this Registeel pretty nicely with Charm. I do think Charm is still due a bit of a nerf, honestly. I'd like to see them reduce the damage, but like even if they wanted to increase energy generation, that's fine. Make it a Dragon Tail clone. I still think Charm is a bit of a stupid move. Being able to Charm through a Registeel is just kind of dumb. The opponent comes into their second Mud Slapper. It's Wiggly Double Slap. Pretty creative team here. I decide to go for a catch. Unfortunately, the opponent's a Patient Peter. They don't go for the move immediately. They're going to go for a Body Slam here and get a huge farm down. So this is getting very awkward. Unfortunately, we don't make the Surf. I'm going to try to get rid of the Gastrodon before they look to bait me or try to get off moves. This is super, super awkward. The opponent's going to go for a Body Slam bait here. They just want to guarantee some extra damage on the Sableye. And we could be in a tricky position here. Wigglytuff farmed up a bit of energy. I wasn't quite sure how much health they had, and I wasn't sure how much energy the Marowak had. As I said earlier, I was kind of having one of these days where I just wasn't counting that well. I was just a little bit lazy with my counts, not really sort of keeping track of everything. Thankfully, everything was pretty low. We could farm down, Shadow Claw all the way down. And in the next battle, we have a Swallot. Swallot has Mud Shot. I decided to go for a catch on the guaranteed resisted move. The opponent does not throw it, and they bring in Credilli. It is nice to draw this out with Jellicent. We can look to get off a Shadow Ball and at least a Surf. The opponent set him with Swallowed a little bit, so we probably do make it to 2 Shadow Balls. It's 5 and then 4, and the opponent's Grass Nuts are straight 4, so we definitely make 2 here. The opponent either has to shield this and come onto Registeel, or give up Swap. The opponent gives up Swap, comes into Golisopod and gets a very nice farm down. The opponent has an absolute ton of energy on the Swallot. They're ahead in energy on Golisopod, so basically at this point I have to come into Registeel, pray and hope for the debuff, but either way the main objective here is to grab the opponent's shield. We go for Zap Cannon, of course they will shield it. I didn't quite see if we got the debuff. I don't think we got it. I decided to shield Aqua Jets, being probably the hardest hitting move left in the game. Swallowed a very bulky Pokemon, does have Ice Beam, but it doesn't really hit quite as hard as the Golisopod. The opponent comes in, they go for probably an Ice Beam. I arguably could shield this move. It does about 50% to me here. We're still not quite in much shot down range. Sadly, they're going to go for Sludges, so sometimes in those situations, you want to shield the first move so they don't start baiting afterwards, right? All they need to do is go Sludge and farm down at this point. I think I get the full farm down here, which is nice. They come into Golisopod, I go for a foul play, and this is a case of, does the opponent make 2 moves or not? They're going to be getting very, very close. I think there are 2 or 3 Shadow Claws here. I have a little bit of residual energy. This is just a race. Am I going to make it to the Zap Cannon? I think this is going to be a CMP. Okay, I have to settle for the Focus Blast. Golisopod is glassy. Will this Focus Blast get the job done? Yes, it does. We knock out the Golisopod. Good game's done, a very, very close game, and well played to that opponent there. In the next battle, we get the Nightmare lead, we get the Marowak in the front. However, whenever I get it in the front, I don't really feel as bad about it because we can bring in Sableye and outpace it. The opponent comes into Drapion. You see, in a sort of weird way, I almost prefer to see it in the lead because I come into Sableye and get an energy lead with Sableye, whereas when they get hit by 1 or 2 mud slaps, Jellicent can no longer deal with it and Sableye gets slapped all the way down. So it kind of works out well in that way, where I'm going to be looking to get a shield advantage with my Registeel, as opposed to the opponent getting an energy lead with their Marowak. So in a sort of funny way, I would almost prefer to see it in the lead than see it on the safe swap. They come into the Drapion, of course, to take out my Sableye. We get 2 shields off the opponent, they go for crunch, don't get a debuff in the first one, which is nice. I get off a focus blast here. Like I said, both of these moves do the exact same damage. We'll look to take them out, and we'll come into Jellicent. The opponent brings in Lapras, they're absolutely core broken by Jelly this game. I think we've got a great chance to win now. Sparkling resisted, Ice Beam resisted, Skull Bash double resisted on Jellicent. We just need to have enough health to try to deal with both of these Pokemon with Jelly. And the good thing here is as well, Registeel can look to get off a Focus Blast on Marowak, even though it's a very negative matchup. Up a shield, and with a couple of hexes worth of damage into it, we should be very fine here. Anyway, we get off a Surf before the opponent reaches their required amount of moves, and that's going to be good games well played. The Surf doesn't quite knock them out. The opponent is kind of playing this out a little bit here. They've got back-to-back moves. We're going to shield it just to get the hex damage for him, because the hexes will do a lot more than the lock-ons. And at this point, it's going to be a very, very sad Marowak getting lock-on farm down with Reggie. I do think if they had a third move for some reason, we would have just about left it there and locked on down. And in the next battle, this is the absolute dream. The opponent comes into Claydol, and we're so happy to see this in the swap. I've run bad timing here, but thankfully the opponent CMP ties me horny for the debuff. They're horny for the debuff. They let the move go, and because I know this is just a Rock Tomb, and I know that the opponent's got in the lead, I let this move go. I'm not going to give the opponent a shield advantage. Yeah, of course, Sableye does pretty fine into Toxapex, but either way, we're still going to get off a Fell Play and put it into Zap Cannon range, and that's pretty much good for me. They come into Marowak, once again, just so awkward. We come into Jellicent here, and we'll see if we can still sweep this up. We're going to overfarm. I think the best possible play the opponent could make here is probably staying in with Marowak at this point, especially because I let that first move go. If the opponent tries to go for a catch and fail to do so, which they do here, this basically guarantees a win for me. I'm up 2-1 shields, we don't one-shot with Zap Cannon, we get the perfect farm down here, and we should be in a great position. As you can see, we get them pretty deep into the yellow, pretty close to the red. We're going to look to go for a Focus Blast farm down, and yeah, there's not really a whole lot the opponent can do at this stage. I'm going to just go for this Focus Blast, build up to 100 energy of course first, do the Focus Blast, probably charge it up to like a nice or something here. Yeah, 100 energy, charge it to like a nice, make sure that we can get some energy. We're not going to give the opponent a ton of farm or anything like that. They come into Marowak, I come in and go for the CMP tie here, which basically guarantees the win for me. They're in Focus Blast range here, we've got the Focus Blast banged. The Surf will look to pretty much KO it, and good games well played to that opponent. Wiggly lead, fantastic lead for me here. Registeel, we're going to look to go for Zap Cannons. Why is the opponent staying in with Wigglytuff? It kind of speaks to how like stupid Wigglytuff is, that they can kind of just stay in this matchup and take a move and kind of charm us down into a range. They build up a bit of energy, come into Drapion. I don't have a direct answer to this. Again, this is where maybe having something different would be better. Some sort of a better answer to things like Drapion and Marowak on the safe swap. Definitely consider that when you're building this team. We get off a move, we come into our Sableye, and we get the attack drop. This is fantastic. This means even if they get a crunch debuff, they can't poison sting us all the way down here. This is perfect for me. I'm going to go straight for Dazzling Gleam, thinking that the opponent's going to let this go, come in with Wiggly, charm it all the way down. They don't want to go down 2 shields, and of course we just beat it there. Now in this game, the opponent stayed in with Wigglytuff to tank a move of Reggie. They come into Drapion. I'm thinking they've got something that's even weaker to Reggie in the back, so I'm going to come into Jellicent here. We resist all of these moves. We double resist Swift. Of course we don't resist Charm, but since the opponent made that play, they're showing me that they're definitely weak to Reggie in the back, so we're coming into Jelly. Jelly can get it done from here, and the opponent shields the move. Okay. We come into Reggie. Huh? They come into Gastrodon. Okay. This is interesting from the opponent, because why would you stay in when you've got 2 pretty decent answers to Reggie in the back? Not really too sure about that, but in any case, we've got 2 shields here. We're in a very decent position. I go for the Surf immediately. The opponent won't be able to get off a bait, which of course this will be, and an Earth Power. We've got a shield for the Wigglytuff's moves, even though they're resisted. We can just shield anything the opponent wants to throw, and the opponent's in Surf range. Good games well played. The opponent played that very weirdly, which I guess in a weird way kind of threw me off, but I think they would have been a lot better just to come into Drapion immediately. Basically outpace the Reggie, get off a crunch debuff, all that kind of stuff. Would have been a little bit better for them. G-Weezy lead, the opponent comes into Dusk Noir. The opponent I think builds up to 5 or 6 here if I remember correctly. I decide here like I can live a Shadow Punch, but I'm not going to risk it. Even if they get off 2 Shadow Punches, it'll look to knock me out. Just in case they're in Shadow Ball, I decide to respect it. The opponent lets the move go, and they come back into the Galarian Weezing. Now we're going to build up, threaten the Power Gem, and we're going to look to fire off the Foul Play. Now, because of the opponent's backline, they do actually shield this move here, which is understandable. You will see in a moment when you see the last Pokemon why they shielded that move. Had that been a power gem, that would have took them out and put them in a very, very negative position. So they decide it's probably safer just to respect it. I probably make 2 Foul Blaze in that matchup anyway, so they probably have to shield one Sableye move anyway. They might as well shield what could be a power gem. The opponent has shown me Brutal Swing, so I'm very, very comfy to come in with Reggie here. Don't really want to come into Jellicent. Had they shown me Sludge Overheat, I probably would have come into Jelly here at this point. Brutal Swing coming in, I'm going to look to go for a Zap Cannon. They actually make a very nice catch on Dusclops, which is a very bulky Pokemon, but I think we're in a great position now. This Pokemon is very bulky and it does very, very little damage, so I know I can take a Shadow Punch. If they had threatened the Poltergeist, I might have had to respect it, but we know we can take a Shadow Punch pretty comfortably here. Jelly's got fantastic pacing also. The opponent's getting decently low because they caught the move, so we can go straight Surf in this matchup. I am sort of expecting the opponent to go for a catch here at this stage, but we'll see how this plays out. I think them catching this move on Wheezing somewhat helps me. It means I don't have to worry about this anymore. This won't knock them out. It'll put them in the perfect farm down range for my Reggie. We can lock on all the way down. It's just going to come down to if I can take a Shadow Punch or not, which I'm fairly certain that I can, or if the opponent could be on Fire Punch, that could be quite interesting as well. Pretty cool team by the opponent, but unfortunately I think non-Shadow Dusclops is just super underwhelming in this meta. Shadow Punches just really don't do enough. I think you'd be probably safer off in general with Ice Punch and Poltergeist, but good games nonetheless. Thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and of course feel free to join our Discord community in the description down below. If you guys would be interested in merch and stuff like that, feel free to let me know in the comments what kind of stuff you'd be interested in. And a big thank you everybody for watching.